Hi. I've been trying to figure out the right words to talk about and what to say with this video. This video is something that is not only really heavy on my heart, but I feel like a lot of people in my community and my heritage, a lot of us are, we're afraid to speak up. And then the ones that do, we get a lot. We get a lot. I am from America. I was raised here, born in Europe, in Germany, to two American parents. And my whole life, I've always known and felt in my soul, growing up, especially in America, I never had a connection with my mom's side of the family until I got older. And not really. And what I mean by that and sharing that is my mom's side of the family was very intuitive, had abilities, psychic, medium, I mean, you name it, they were in tune with it. Some of them hid from it, some of them ran from it, which is very common with our ancestors and our heritage, and they would conform to the religions in their environment. This video is going to be really hard, and I'm not going to edit it. I feel like it needs to be something shared straightforward, what comes through. As an intuitive being, I feel like this needs to be said, whether people watch this, whether they don't. At this point, it's up to them and the universe and what comes through. But growing up, like I mentioned, in America, I always felt this weird, like I didn't belong anywhere, that no matter where I was, growing up in one environment, I was very grateful, I was very connected with that. I grew up being white passing. I always was told that I was Native or Native American because obviously I'm a little bit more dark tone than most white Caucasian people. I was told that I was Native Cherokee. Well, in America, most people are told this, and I feel like it's almost like an insult to the indigenous people as well, because there's a lot of hardship, and for people to come in and go, yeah, I'm Indian, yeah, I'm Cherokee, or just going about different tribes and stuff when it isn't their place. I think it's a huge culture thing, but I also feel the fact that most of these people that are saying this, I never looked at it from this perspective. And as I got older, especially as an adult, I realized there was more to the story than, obviously met the eye. And over the last 6-7 months during COVID, I decided to do a DNA test. I was told around my 16th birthday, I had a brother that was given up for adoption by my dad. So I decided, you know what, I want to find my brother. Nobody will give me information on him. I want to be able to find him. And I only had very limited information. I knew his name and the place he was born and his mom's name and my dad's name. That's all I had. I don't have anything else. It was almost like I don't remember him, but the whole family and anybody I've talked to knew about him. Anyways, so I decided to do the DNA test to hopefully find some answers with finding my long-lost brother. Still haven't connected with him. I don't know what's happened, or I have so many questions on that aspect. But this video isn't just about that. As I did my DNA test, I started matching with a couple people here and there, and I thought it was really cool to find out. On my DNA test, it says English, German, no Native American. I do have indigenous tribes from northern eastern Russia. I have Indian, Egyptian, Ethiopian, Hungarian, Balkans, specifically, Greek, Italian, Scottish, Irish. And for me, doing this DNA test, it started opening doors for me. And as an intuitive person, a year ago, I was told by a friend of mine that who also is a psychic that I was supposed to connect with ancestors. A lot of us, through the ancestry and stuff that I've connected with now, have all said the same thing, had similar experiences. And I thought it was really, not strange, but just eye-opening. It's like we're all being called back, not only just in my community, but in other communities as well. We're all having a sense of, time to go home. As I started doing the DNA tests and stuff and started matching with people, I found cousins that we didn't know we were cousins. One was, the first experience I had was on social media on Facebook. A cousin of mine, a fourth cousin, added me on Facebook about a week or two before my DNA test came back. I did Ancestry, My Heritage, and 23andMe. I wanted to see if they all matched up. I learned in the past that people would do these tests, but it would like show different results. So I wanted to see what mine came up, whether it was like legitimate, or not, and kind of match them all up and see where the differences were. So I did these tests, and my last one was My Heritage to get the results back in. The night before, I had met my cousin, and then about 2 weeks later, I had a weird feeling about it, like when I added her on Facebook and stuff. When I added her on there, I felt familiar with her. I couldn't explain it. I just knew, being an intuitive person myself, I had this feeling like I knew her, but I couldn't explain how. We had never interacted before. We never knew each other. We didn't know anything about each other. And when I did this DNA test, and when results finally came in that night before, about 6 hours beforehand, I couldn't sleep that night. I went ahead and I was looking for photos. This sounds so stupid, but looking for photos to change for my Heritage account. So people knew what I looked like. I was interested in seeing not only how do I look, but how does my ancestors look? Is there different patterns? Because again, most of the people in my immediate family are more fair skinned than I am. So I never understood where my color came from. Oh, it sounds really weird, but I never felt like I fit in. So that night I put the photo that I had on Facebook. I woke up that next morning and I had a text message from her stating we matched as fourth cousins. It was really mind-blowing. I didn't understand it at the time. A whole bunch of different things came out. And as we're doing that, we're getting connected and everything, she tells me about our heritage. And I'm like, okay. She grew up knowing about our heritage and what we are and where we come from, which was really shocking for me because my grandmother's side, which connects to her side, my mom's side, we didn't know. Nobody told us. It was hidden from us. We had gifts and abilities and things, but everybody shunned us, put us down, didn't talk to us about it. My dad's side of the family was very secretive. I don't know anything past my great-grandfather of the Williams side, but I was trying to put all the puzzle pieces together because I've always heard stories, but nobody would talk about the past. What happened in the past? There was so much hate and so much pain, and I couldn't figure it out why I was feeling all of this for my ancestors and my parents, and just feeling so overwhelmed by everything. And I decided to ask her questions, do you know anything about our ancestors? We found out where we connected at, which is really close on my mom's dad's side. And then as she started talking to me, she's like, we're Roma. I didn't even know what Roma was. I went to college studying history, world history, American history, European history. And I never knew what Roma was. And that to me was just shocking itself. Because Romani people are a form of ethnicity. They're known as Roma Gypsies, fortune tellers, a whole bunch of different things. I'm still learning that aspect, and I'm still trying to understand what we are, but there's so many in our community that are either angry and sad and just overwhelmed, and then there's people that are trying to take away from our culture, and then there's people that are like me who are trying to understand where we came from, and it being held back and not being told who you are and where your ancestors come from, especially in a long line of that, it's hard. It's hard to go through, it's hard to process, it's overwhelming. And then not only that, when you figure out what it is and then you look back at the history of the Roma people and all the suppression, all of the just everything. They've been put down, they've been attacked, they've been killed, they've been hunted, not only by one ethnicity, but multiple different ethnicities, different cultures. Every country they've been in, they've been damn near pushed out. There's so much anger and so much hate with people that are just wanting to fit in. There's so much confusion with who are Roma people, and a lot of us are very in tune. There's a lot of us are understanding. We feel so much at once. We don't even understand why there's so many of us that can do this, but it's who we are. Some of us are more in tune than the others. It depends. And this isn't just with Roma people. Other people in other cultures as well are like this. But I've never seen, out of all the years that I've researched religions and spirituality and gifts and abilities, I've never seen this many people just connect and say yes, or they've been able to do it. As far as reading or energy work or healing or herbal medicine goes, it's crazy. I think the biggest thing from my experience and what I'm feeling in this moment doing the ancestry and figuring out who I am, especially as a Roma Gypsy, being able to feel some form of connection with an ancestry and a heritage that I feel like was robbed from me. A lot of the things that most Romas have struggled with at some point, whether it was discrimination or hate or just, feeling it from our ancestry, it's hard. And I think it's harder for some that are just trying to figure it all out. I think it's a lot harder. I don't think that anybody's one journey is harder than the next. I don't even know how to explain what I'm feeling besides confusion, betrayal, understanding, overwhelmed. It's like a piece of you has been taken from you, and you've been put down, not only from, if you grew up white passing, your community didn't think anything of it, but your family could have been the ones putting you down. And for me personally, that was my family. They wanted me to do nothing that connected me to my ancestry. These are things that I was guided to. These are things that I listened to. These are things that I just didn't wake up one day and go, I want to be a psychic. I didn't want to be a medium or anything like that. These are things that came naturally to me from wherever the source was, whether it was God, whether it was the universe, wherever it was. And for me, the biggest thing that I'm struggling with is like, am I overstepping on a culture that I didn't grow up with? Or am I not Romany enough to be included in this? Even though growing up, I felt everything. And it was so hard. And even still today as an adult, I struggle with, I've said this multiple times with my husband. It's like, no matter what I say, no matter what I do, I feel like the universe is always against me. And I'm learning that most Roma people that suffer, a lot of them suffer from depression, anxiety, because they're always feeling like everybody else is out to get them. When you go through a millennia of oppression, whether you've experienced it this lifetime or not, you feel it on a whole other level. And then you have not only that, and then when you're coming to understanding what you are, which is a whole powerful energy healing itself. But when you have people in your own community tell you you're not matching with us, you aren't like us, because you didn't grow up in this culture because of the decision that your ancestors decided to not only protect you, but then to hide it from you. It's hard. And I think a lot of us are overwhelmed right now. We don't know how to react, not only in my community, but in other communities as well. We feel a calling to go home, to make out an understanding, to not be overwhelmed. And it's hard. There's no right or wrong way to say this, or to be like, I am proud of my ancestry, I am proud of my heritage. But when it comes to understanding my heritage, all I can feel right now is the pain, the anger, the laughs, the dances, the music. I can hear all this. I can feel all this. But to not have grown up knowing this was a part of me and the characteristics that I carry in myself and my identity, and just feeling like, oh, Alyssa, you can't act that way. That hurts more than anything. I think more and more people need to speak up, especially if you're dealing with a culture shock, an identity, trying to figure out who you are, and trying to just understand. I think a lot more of us need to speak out about this. We're not trying to overstep on anybody that's grown up in cultures. We want to understand a part of who we are.